Peace and love, family. It's your girl, Six the Goddess. And keep in mind, I'm a goddess and I'm sensitive about my shift. I'm super excited for today's video. I think it is super necessary. But before we get into the video, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Alpha Juice Company. Alpha Juice Company is an organic, fresh pressed juice company, delivering these juices straight to your door, cold, ready to go. All you gotta do is pop it open and drink. I have a lot of ladies that ask me, like, how do you maintain your figure? Maintaining, staying in shape, my skin. And I'm like, y'all be wanting like a product or a waist trainer or a skin a skin product that just, miraculously makes it all great. But it really is about what you put on the inside of your body. You cannot eat nothing but racks of lamb and Pepsi and think that you're going to be slim and your skin is going to be good. So you want to go ahead and give your body what it needs. Now, my issue is, I will admit this, I don't particularly enjoy eating fruits and vegetables. I don't. But what I did learn about myself is, though I may not eat them, I'll drink them. But then the next problem is I have to go buy these fruits and vegetables, clean them, buy a juicer. It's got to be a good juicer, and good juicer is going to run you a couple $100. Juice them, all the steps. It's too much of my time, and it's so much money that it's just something I do not maintain. So when Alpha Juice Company came across my little desk, I was like, oh, well, here it goes. Now I go ahead and get them. They deliver it straight to my door, pop them in the fridge. Whenever I need one, I literally just go in there, drink it, or sometimes I can freeze them and take it with me on the go. But they're amazing, Black owned. Look in the description box for my code to save you a little money, honey. Get some money off, darling. So I do have some people who, they kind of see what I'm doing. And there's kind of this question of like, okay, so who is this sis? What exactly is her MO? What's going on? I wanted to go ahead and give you guys some insight on who I am. Okay. I've been in this game a long time. Some people know, some people don't. But I realized for the people who don't know, let's go ahead and make them familiar. So I wanted to tell you a bit about my life, my background, and how I decided to become a teacher today. So I was born in a suburb of Philadelphia called Norristown, Pennsylvania. Shout out to Norristown. My entire family on my mother's side is from Pennsylvania. On my father's side, everyone is from North Carolina, honey. We are some real down-home FBA Black people out here in my family, honey. The roots run deep, baby. My mother was a painter, my father a musician. So I have very creative parents, which is why I guess I'm more of in a creative field. Growing up, I had a really good childhood. Growing up in Pennsylvania, we lived in a house that my grandfather built for us. I grew up Jehovah's Witness. For those of you who don't know, this is a part of Christianity. From a very young age, I've always had a gift for spelling, reading, and writing. My mom would put me in spelling bees, and I would ace every spelling bee. There wasn't a word I couldn't spell. I'm also a speed reader. I can look at something and I can read it, go through like that. My mom began to see kind of my gift for words and decided to put me in what is called the Theocratic Ministry School. If you were in Jehovah's Witness organization, you know what that is. The Theocratic Ministry School is like an interactive Bible study like thing. I don't know how to explain it, but in a Jehovah's Witness religion, the women cannot stand up in front of men and teach and preach. If the women want to speak in front of the congregation, it has to be like an example, like a skit or a play, okay? So normally you'd be sitting down, unless, again, like you're doing a skit type of thing to teach different Bible lessons and stuff like that. So I remember joining a theocratic ministry school at the Norristown congregation when I was all of 4 years old. Got up there, killed it. I had my little script ready, and I just naturally kind of had a knack for speaking and reading and writing. So that was my first kind of, hint that I was kind of destined to become a writer, right? So when I was around 8 years old, my mother decides to move us to Florida. Now, I never got the real tea on why she decided to move us. And I probably never will get the real tea, but here nor there, my mother on her own packed me and my younger brother up. We got in the van and she drove us to Florida. We originally moved to South Florida in an area called Coral Springs, which is a suburb. I would say the next biggest city to Coral Springs is Fort Lauderdale. So look at it as a suburb of Fort Lauderdale. We always moved a lot. I've been to about 13 different schools in my life. So my childhood was very transient. We moved to Florida when I'm 8. A year later, my mother gets diagnosed with breast cancer. Okay. Now, at that time, I kind of understood that cancer made you sick. I understood that my mom was not going to be feeling well, but at 9 years old, I did not fully grasp the concept of what it was. Now, when she first got diagnosed and went into treatment, she fell very ill. She did not react well to the treatment plan they had developed for her. So she was not really able to care for my brother and I like she wanted to, okay? So there were a few things that went down, and basically at school, they kind of caught on like, wait a minute, like, where is your parents? What is going on? My father was going through his own disease and his own issues at the time. So it was really just me, my mom, and my brother. Okay. So now the school is catching on like, wait a minute, where is your supervisor? Where is your parents? What's going on? And, there was some things that went down where me and my brother almost got taken away from our mom because they were like, what's going on here? So I'll never forget the day my mom came to me and was like, baby girl, listen, I'm really trying my best. This treatment, this cancer is kicking my butt. I'm going to really need your help and really need you to step up. So from 9 years old, I was a homemaker. I took that so seriously. I love my little brother so much, love my mom so much that I'm like, okay, like I have to take care of my family. If I do not take care of my family, we are going to all be separated. I'm never going to see my mom again. I cannot mess this up. So I remember from a young age feeling very pressured to care for my family. Now, Jehovah's Witnesses are very strict when it comes to sex outside of marriage, children outside of marriage. So since my family was so religious, they really resented my brother and I because we were considered bastard children. So they weren't very hands-on and much of a help outside of my grandmother. My grandmother helped us as much as she could, but she was older. So at this time, it's just me, my mom, my brother. And so homemaking is something that I was raised to do. At 9 years old, I was making the meals, doing the laundry, making sure my homework was done, my brother's homework was done, making sure we get up for school, get to school. So taking care of people is now, like my love language. Like I am just used to caring for people. It's what makes me happy. Taking care of my family makes me happy. Like it's kind of just embedded in me. Now, looking back, this kind of was a little bit too much of responsibility for me because I began to develop a very severe anxiety. As my mother's, journey with her cancer went on, it would kind of go into remission, then it would come back. Then it would go into remission again, then it would come back. There were times I would come home from school and she would be like throwing up, passed out. There'd be times where she'd be unresponsive. And this is what caused my anxiety to really trigger because every day it was like, is my mom going to die today? You know what I'm saying? So now this went on for a few years. Once I get into middle school, I'll never forget this part of my life. I think that this part of my life is what really made me who I am today. And this is why I tell my ladies, do not run from your struggles. Your struggles will either make you or break you. I know it sounds so cliche, but it's cliche for a reason because it's true. Your struggles will literally make you the best version of yourself, or you can let them completely break you. When I got in around sixth grade, by this time, as you can imagine, with a starving artist parent and a parent that is experiencing health issues like that, money was not something we had. Okay, we was broke. My mother tried her best, and it's crazy. Where even through how sick she was, she still worked her butt off to give me and my brother the things that we needed, keep a roof over our head. And I look back like, how did she stay so strong? Like, oh my God, like this woman was just amazing. I literally would just bow to my mother's feet at how loving and kind she was, despite her own, health issues, right? So God bless her. But most of my clothes were like secondhand, hand-me-down clothes from other people in the congregation. And when I got around middle school, this is when we started to learn like I was going to be tall, and not just kind of tall, but super tall. So the girls my age, like they would try to hand down the clothes. They coming up to here on me, looking like I'm waiting for a flood. It was giving major flash flood preparation. Okay. My feet were 3 times the size of everyone else. I started getting into puberty. My puberty was so weird. Okay. The first thing that happens in my puberty is boobs. Okay. First thing is huge boobs pop up. Okay. And I'm super slim, like olive oil, super lanky with these huge tits. And it was like, what the hell? Can other things fill out first? So now I'm top heavy. When I say lanky, I'm talking about lanky. Like literally they call me olive oil or Twiggy. They call me Black Twiggy. Oh my God. Then I am legally blind. I'm blind AF. And I had Medicaid glasses. Oh my God. I had a gap in my teeth, a huge gap in my teeth. Bottom teeth were crooked. So I had like buck teeth, gap teeth, long lanky arms, big feet, huge boobs, Medicaid glasses. Oh, I'm talking about literally when I talk to you guys about the ugly duckling to a swan story, honey, that is me. Looking back, I'm glad it was that way because all the girls that were super fine in middle school and high school, like they were not able to handle that level of attention and development so young. So looking back, I'm kind of glad that I was the, ugly duckling, awkward girl because I think it really helped to preserve me. Okay. Now, we lived in a trailer park at this time. And as though that was not bad enough, Lord, the trailer park was across the street from my school. At this time, I was at Ramblewood Middle School in South Florida. To make it worse, like this is how it was set up. It's like the bus line here, a canal, and then the trailer park. So the kids knew I lived in a trailer because I had to literally walk past the bus line, around the gate, around the canal to get home. So at school, they would talk about how I was poor, trailer trash, make fun of my clothes. The girls would like seriously harass me. I got teased a lot. Looking back, I always knew I had an anointing on my life because I was always attacked so much in my life. Even when I was like awkward looking, the girls were still coming for me. And I look back and I'm like, this was your anointing. This is why you cannot run from your trials and tribulations. They might be trying to tell you something. Those trials are trying to tell you what anointing God may have on your life. Okay. So I remember one day, and like I said, this was a pivotal moment in my life. I remember one day, it was these 2 girls. I will never forget these girls. One was named Farron. One was named Francis. Farron and Francis made it their life goal to make my life hell. And this went on for a while. And then one day, the spirit of my ancestors just invoked upon me. And they said, no more. My ancestors said no more. And I remember coming out of, I think it was science class. I remember coming out of science class, Francis come up to me with Farron, talking junk. And I remember I just, my hand came up and it was like, my hand came up, brought that hand back. And when I tell you I slapped fire from Francis, I slapped her into next year. I'm talking about pimp slap. I'm surprised my calling wanted to be a pimp, how I pimp slap her ass, okay? And I remember after all this time of antagonizing me and torturing me, I slapped fire from her. You know what she do? Grabs her face and cries and tells on me. I got suspended. When I got suspended, you know, it was like I knew I was in trouble, but a part of me felt so triumphant. Like, yes, I'm not going to let these people defeat me. You know, after going through all of this, the pressure kind of became too much for me. It was like getting teased at school. We're poor, you know, we're struggling. My mom is stressed out. So I got so just boggled down with everything that I attempted to take my own life. After this happened, this was in either late 6th grade, early 7th grade. Okay. After this happened, my mom decided to homeschool me for a little bit and we moved. We moved to Central Florida in the middle of the Ocala National Forest to a small town called Astor. Look up Astor on the map. You probably can't, okay? It's probably 300 people in the whole town. We were the only Black people there. At this time, my mom was getting into real estate, found a house she wanted out there. So I remember we moved into the woods and I remember finding peace for the first time in my life. My mother was still battling her health issues, but I felt free. I would walk around barefoot. I told you I grew up on the St. Johns River. It's one of the only rivers in the world that runs from south to north, okay? It's like America's own version of the Nile, all right? Throwing rocks at alligators, like real deal country girl, real deal Florida girl, okay? I thoroughly enjoyed those years of my life. I went to Umatilla Middle School, Umatilla High School. We moved again after that. At this point, we were in Lake Mary. I went to Lake Mary High School. Now, when I got to Lake Mary High School, it was a bigger city, a bigger town. This is when things really began to also take a turn. At this time, my mother's health started severely declining. Whereas before it was like remission, you know, and, you know, it's gone and here and remission and back. At this time, it was like it was staying and it was getting more aggressive. And I saw her getting increasingly more tired of treatment. So now is when I start getting in trouble at school. I felt very angry. I felt like, okay, so no one's helping us. Like everyone just is looking at me to do everything. I can't even have my own life. I felt frustrated. I felt tired. And the medication and treatment, this is why I say, if God forbid I was ever to get diagnosed with that, I don't want the treatment that come with it. The treatment is what freaking kills you. I've seen it with my own eyes. So the treatment and the medication began to make my mom very irritable, whereas she was always a very happy, loving, smiling, laughing person. This treatment just really started to mess with her mood and her behavior. So me and my mother's relationship became very tumultuous to the point where the police got involved, social workers had got involved, and I was like the reverse Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and I got sent back to Philly when I was 16, you know, because me and my mother were just literally, it was coming like to physical altercations. It was terrible. I felt so hurt. It was like, I have sacrificed my entire childhood to take care of you and my brother. Like, why are you so frustrated with me? Why are you treating me like this? We didn't realize later this was a side effect from this radiation and all this stuff they're doing to her brain, okay? So I remember I may have went down in history at Lake Mary High School for the most referrals, okay? I'm talking about, I was in the administrative office at least 3 times a week. I got suspended, I don't know how many times. Shout out to Mr. McNeil. What's his name, Mr. McNeil? Mr. McNeil was the only one who didn't just label me as bad. He was the only one that's like, this girl is not bad. Her mom is dying. She's stressed out. She's going through a lot. She feels alone, you know, and this is why I advocate for young Black girls where it's like, we're not allowed to go through things. We go through things and it's automatically we're bad. And it's like, no, like look into her personal life. Look into what she's going through. You know what I'm saying? So I got sent back to Philly. I went to Phoenixville High School for a little bit. Once I left, I think that's when my mom realized how valuable I was to the family and how much I did for the family. So then my mom was like, okay, come back, I came back. This is when I meet my son's father. Oh, goodness. This is where it just goes left at this point. Now, before I met my son's father, my mother and the doctor sat me down and said, listen, your mother probably has another 6 months to a year to live. I was in severe denial about this. I was like, no, my mom's not going anywhere. I felt like as long as I continued to care for her, she will still be here. Now, it's funny how the subconscious mind works, where meeting my son's father, he was older than me. He began to help me. I never really had help before. He would help me, get me to and from school, help me, get food, get what I needed. Me and my mom our relationship was still on such thin ice. So, he became like a savior to me. Like, I literally just felt like, yeah, I want to have a family with you, because subconsciously I'm like, my family is dying out. So it's so crazy how, as a young girl, running into the wrong person at the wrong time when you're at a place of vulnerability can really just, it can get rough. So he waits until my 18th birthday to impregnate me, right? It's so funny because sometimes people hear that I was a young mother and they think that it was this accidental pregnancy, and I'd be sitting there like, it wasn't accidental. I had my son on purpose. He asked me to have him. It wasn't an accident. And it's sad because both of us were so young. We have both come from broken families. He doesn't know who his father is. We did not have any guidance and support on how to navigate a healthy relationship. So, it's sad because, you hate to see a family kind of have to break apart the way we did, but it was a lot going on. And it was damn near impossible for us to have navigated that at that time. So now I get pregnant. I have to tell my mother I'm pregnant. At this time, remember, I come from a religious background. My mother doesn't even know I'm having sex, let alone that I'm pregnant. So I remember the day I told my mom. She looks at me and she's like, oh, okay. So where you going to go? You better tell him and get a job and get a place for y'all to live. And I was like, oh, shit, right? And to his credit, he did. He got a job. He got us an apartment, paid the bills, took care of everything. I will never take that from him. He did not abandon me when I was pregnant. He did not leave me for dead. Definitely had our issues, but I will commend him as a young man stepping up and, doing what he needed to do for his family. I'll never take that from him. He had his own demons he was battling, and that is okay. So now I give birth to my son June 2008. Giving birth to my son, wow, like I almost get emotional just thinking about like the beauty and the wonderful feeling of giving birth, and being able to produce life and produce a child as a woman. Like, wow, like, man, that really just changed my life. It was like so amazing. And I remember giving birth to my son, and I remember the nurse laid my son, my child that I gave birth to, on my chest. And I just remember my whole life changing. Like, wow, like this is now my purpose here. Gave birth to my son in June 2008. By October 2008, my mom was gone. Okay. And the day my mother died, she was in hospice. We knew that things were declining. She actually had held on longer than we thought. I believe she held on longer because she knew, like, she wanted to see her grandchild. My mother literally was on her deathbed trying to change his diaper and trying to play with him. I'm like, ma'am, you need to preserve your energy. Okay. You could not tell her nothing about her grandbaby. Like I told you guys, my mom's an artist. She used her last bit of strength to draw a picture of my son as a baby. Okay. And she drew one picture of him and drew a picture of him and his father holding him. And oh my God, I just love that lady so much. I just cannot, like, they said a good die young, and it's true. My mother was only 48 years old. So, give birth to my son, lose my mother in the same year. By this point, I'm pretty much numb. Like, I'm pretty much like, and then, it was just, I don't know how to explain it. A lot of things are a blur at that point. Later on in therapy, I found out that your mind will kind of erase certain parts of your life that were painful to you. So I literally have a hard time remembering that year and that next year. When my mom died, I did not know what to do. I did not have any money to bury her. We did not have any burial insurance, life insurance. I have this baby. I was breastfeeding at the time. When my mom dies at the hospice, this like old white guy come with a briefcase, sits me down and goes, "Oh, sweetie, we're so sorry for your loss right now, but don't you worry. We're going to take care of everything for your mother. Just sign right here, and we'll take care of it. God bless you." I'm like, okay. I signed a paper. He got up so fast. "Okay, thank you. Have a good day." Whisked my mother's body away. I never saw my mother's body again. I don't know what happened. Okay. After that, they leave on my doorstep a cardboard box with something in it that they alleged was my mother's ashes. We don't know whose ashes these was. I don't even know who these people are that took my mother's body. I imagine as a Black woman with 10 years of breast cancer experimental drugs and treatment in it, I imagine it's a field day for science. And so my mom was Henrietta Lacks. Okay. She never got a proper burial like she deserved, and that haunts me to this day. But looking back, I'm like, what was my alternative? There was nothing else that I could do, so it's something that I do live with, and I'm trying to learn to live with, but it's still a very painful part of my past. This is when I really knew like how cold the world was. Most of my family did not even show up for her funeral. All the people my mom had did so much for didn't show up. That was my first reality check as a young girl to how cold this world really is. The world is so cold. It made me really learn people don't owe you nothing. They don't care. All right. And I had a different respect for that at that point. At this point, me and my son's father moved to Georgia. Again, I was going through a lot of abuse. Again, looking back, I'm like, man, that young brother was really hurting inside. And unfortunately, by him knowing that now I have no family, it was pretty much open season on me. And God bless his heart. The man just, I don't know. Yeah, again, it was a lose-lose situation, honestly. Just lost, blind leading the blind. So now I'm in a really messed up predicament because I'm like, okay, I don't have any family. I'm getting my ass kicked. I'm miserable. Like, what am I going to do? And we moved to Georgia because his mother claimed she wanted to help us with the child. We get to Georgia. That is not at all what was going on. Things went really, really left at that point. And I knew if I don't get out of here, I'm not going to make it. Okay. I am not going to make it if I don't get the hell up out of here. So I'm 19 years old. And I remember calling the police, and I told the police, I'm like, listen, just rescue me, help me get my stuff out of here so I can get the hell up out of here. I call everyone I know asking, I need some money, like for some gas and for some food to get back to Florida. It was only one person that sent me money, and they sent me $50. And I remember putting $20 in my gas tank, saying a prayer. And I think God got that car to Tallahassee. And I went to one of my best friend's house, and her father took me in for a little bit, and I kind of, gathered myself and prepared myself for what I was about to have, this journey I was about to have to go on my own, just, as a young mother. I got back to Central Florida. I started looking for a job. In the meantime, me and my baby boy are living in my car. Like, I will never forget the first night we slept in the car. It was like I held my baby and I cried the entire night. Like, it's me and my baby in the car. I have never, ever felt so broken in my life. Like, I felt so guilty. Like, how did I bring my child into this? You know what I'm saying? Like, how did we get here? And I vowed, like, I will do whatever it takes to get us into a good place, you know? So I was applying for jobs. Keep in mind, I have no work experience. You know, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I applied for a job at this call center called Convergys in Lake Mary. Shout out to Convergys. Like, everybody's first real job was Convergys. Got the job. I remember I got us an apartment. I was so happy of my little apartment. Shout out to Cedar Creek in Sanford, Florida. It was like a 3-bedroom townhouse. You could not tell me anything. Like, this was a spot for me and my son. I got this on my own. Like, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy. So now I'm like paying bills, right? Now it's like, okay, I remember getting my first paycheck from work and it was like $600 and the rent was like $740. And I remember sitting there like, so okay, carry the one, divide by 2, subtract. And I'm sitting here like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? Okay. So I really quickly got a glance of like the real world and like trying to make it happen. I'm like, whoo, boy, this ain't easy. I'm exhausted already. Whoo, I'm about to go back to living in the car. Goddamn, whoo. So now, again, we talked about how your struggles will become like your testimony later. A part of my mom being sick is that she didn't really have the energy to do my hair. I had learned how to do my own hair. So now, me being on my own for a few years, struggling, a bunch of odd jobs here and there, just trying to make ends meet, Lord, right? Then I decide I'm going to go to school. Well, I did go to 2 semesters of college, but y'all remember when I told you I'm a speed reader? I remember being in college, being in a classroom, about to shoot myself. Like, oh my God, all college was read this, take notes on it, listen to this lecture, take a test. I'm like, I could read a book on my own and write notes on my own. I'm not about to sit here and do this. So I dropped out of college, hated it. Was not the life for me. Looking back, I'm so glad I did, because I called myself going to college to get a communications degree because I wanted to do radio. Okay. Yeah. So that was a hell no for me. So I struggled with odd jobs here and there. Then I decided I was going to take up a trade. I was like, I'm going to go to school for cosmetology. Went through cosmetology school. That was struggle AF. By this time, my son, I have him in a homeschool program, very African holistic centered education. We called it the Shule Ade Tunde. Shout out to the Shule Ade Tunde. My baby boy at the Shule in our little community was then able to have a sense of family. And it was the only sense of family he had. So it was like, I knew I had to sacrifice. I never got the Louis bags, Chanel bags. Any money I had, it went towards his education, to provide that, not only education, but that family. We made so many ties with people at the Shule. I was so happy that I was able to give my son a good childhood and a good upbringing. By the skin of my teeth, but he was able to be around other children that look like him. And I believe that's why he is so emotionally intelligent and loving to this day, is I was able to make that sacrifice to give him a good education and a good childhood, right? Go to barber school. I go to cosmetology school. I get a job in a beauty salon. And for y'all who don't know, like, cosmetology school is not like college where it's by credits. It's by hours. So there is no, in college, you can skip class and make up the assignment and you're good. Like, if you are not, and they fingerprint you to make sure you're in the building. Like, if you are not physically in that building, it does not count. I had a horrible time at beauty school. I went to Aveda Institute. My hair is natural. These people continue to try to force me to straighten my hair and use their dry ass white people products. Even tried to kick me out of school, told me I didn't belong there. I literally had to hold an entire natural hair revolution in cosmetology school. I had to fight for my life in there. again, in my life, always under attack. This is what made me want to just go harder. Like, okay, there's a reason why it's always me, right? Hated Aveda. Don't ever go there. Worst school ever. Expensive AF. Racist AF. The worst. Hated it. 0 stars. Would not recommend. I might do a separate video on why you should never ever go to Aveda Institute. Finished school. Got my license. Got a job in a beauty salon. Hated it. Hated it. Beauty salon, worst ever. Girls hating, gossiping. Everyone's in there, male bashing, complaining about men and scratching their ass. Hated it. Was miserable. A friend of mine then tells me they're opening up a barbershop. Okay. And she's like, we don't have any barbers. Can you come work? And I'm like, girl, I was not a barber. I was like, girl, I don't know how to do this. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. So she was like, girl, listen. If you can do a pixie cut, you can cut men's hair. So after a 2-week crash course in barbering, I was like, okay. And I get in there, started barbering, fell in love with it. I became a barber from that point forward for the next 6-7 years, right? Then at the time, now I'm working in that. Then I start my podcast. All right. As I'm barbering, I've always kind of talked little shit on social media. You know, I got really, very passionate into my people and our history and our socioeconomic statuses and profound Black leaders. And so at this time, I remember like always kind of popping my little shit on social media about it. But I hadn't really taken it very far, and just even like popping my little shit, people would be like, you need your own TV show. And people they're like, you need your own TV show. And I'm like, my own TV show? Like, child, me on TV with my mouth? Honey, I'm too real for TV. They're not going to be able to handle me. So then I remembered I said, I always wanted to do radio, wanted to do TV. I was like, I'm going to start a podcast. Started my podcast called African and American Podcast. Started doing really good. People loved it. It took off really well. I remember looking at my streams. I was at like 250,000 streams, like on my own, and it was super dope. Now here comes where I meet my, what would be my fiance. Okay. Met my fiance. Well, I shouldn't say we met him because we were from the same place and we kind of already knew of each other. But I guess we, began to, kind of pursue a relationship. Now, at this time, I had started my podcast. And this is why, ladies, like, I always recommend ladies to start your own businesses. But I want you guys to know, in business, you're going to fail, and you're probably going to fail multiple times, ladies. But you have to stay the course. You cannot say, I failed in this level of business, so it's over for me. It is not over. You will fail multiple times. I'm letting you guys know this now. Now, at this time, I had started my own like men's grooming products, okay? Because I would have little stuff I would concoct and use on my clients at work, and they liked it. So then I was like, okay, well, I might as well start selling it. So I remember selling it. I was so miserable pushing these products. Like, I was making the product on my own, labeling it on my own, shipping it, dealing with customer service inquiries. I already have anxiety, honey. I was so overwhelmed. I was also selling makeup. Then I was selling jewelry. Like, I literally, like, the entrepreneur's typical continued failure stories, that was me, okay? So then I was like, okay, selling products is a little overwhelming for me, okay? It's a lot to keep up with. It's a lot. It was not giving for me, okay? So, this is when I had a friend of mine. Her name was Candace. She had a company called Blissfully Feminine. And me and her, we're not speaking, as of today, but I will always give love to Candace because she really introduced me into femininity influencing, femininity authorship. So looking back, I'm like, my femininity has always kind of been natural for me. I told you guys, I was a total homemaker by age 8. I've always been a caretaker, a nurturer, always been very girly, into makeup, into hair, knew how to do hair. I'm like, my femininity is already kind of a natural thing. I just didn't know the name of it. I didn't know the politics of it. I didn't know how to refine it. So I remember working with Candace. She really worked with me on the logistics behind it all. Okay. But yet and still, when I would look at certain femininity influencers, they were not doing it for me. I was like, I want to see ladies who I can relate to. Like, I don't come from this bougie, prissy background. Like, where are the women like me who come from poverty, who may come from broken homes, who may come from struggles, who are not into the whole like bougie stuck up persona, the whole everything was like learning how to get a man with hypergamy, and everything was about leveling up and how to finesse this. And I'm like, this ain't given for me. I don't like this. It's not, I don't feel true to me. I don't relate to it. So I remember like complaining to my friends, like, this whole femininity thing is great. I think it's something that we as Black women need to be more aware of. But I don't like the module that kind of goes on right now. It's just not doing it. And my friends would be like, well, why don't you do it? Like, you're one of the most feminine gals we know. And I'm like, well, my femininity is very non-conventional. Okay. My femininity is more based around humor, more down to earth, and more on a nurturing aspect than a fake, perfect, bougie aspect. And they were like, well, that's more the reason why you should do it. Then I'm like, well, I can't be a femininity influencer. Like, I come from a broken home. I come from being broke. I'm a single mother. You know what I'm saying? And they're like, that's even more a reason why you should do it. Like, you can teach women how to overcome. You are the perfect example and can teach women your story does not have to be butterflies and unicorns, and you're still deserving of your womanhood. You can still embrace your femininity. Like, girl, you've overcome so much. Like, you can teach other women how to overcome it and then not even look like what you've been through. So I'm like, you guys really think so? I'm like, little old me, you know? They're like, yes, you know, you have a powerful voice. You already have a following. Like, do it. So that's when I decided, you know what? You're right. I am going to do it. And I did. All right. That's when I wrote my book. Okay. I wrote my book. It's right here. It's the Black Woman's Ultimate Guide to Reclaiming Femininity. I really wanted to give an ode and tribute to the women in my family that came before me. So I have my great grandmother, my grandmother, and my mom. And it just kind of shows the consistency in the women in my family that the femininity is natural. The femininity is in the genetics. And I really love this cover because to me, these photos tell a story. You know, it just tells a story. And I wanted to call on my ancestors and ask them, like, hey, do you mind if I use our story to teach other women? And they were like, do it, girl, do it. They were like, it's giving. They were like, yes, queen. They were like, yes, queen. Give it to them. Make it work. Make it happen. And with the permission of my ancestors, wrote the book. The book did numbers. The book did amazing. I remember logging into my website like 3 days after I launched it and was like, oh my goodness. And that's when I knew, I'm like, you got it. You always knew that writing was your thing. You got it. Okay. A part of me wanted to wait until everything was perfect and and I said, no, release it as it is. Let it go as it is. The point is the message. So many women were so relieved when they came to me. They were like, sis, we thought we were the only ones. Like, we thought that we are the only ones that felt this way. So many sisters were so happy that I was able to be honest and be like, hey, y'all, is it just me? Or is the way that we've been living not been giving what it's supposed to give? Okay. It ain't been giving what it's supposed to give. Sometimes you need to just completely rebuild, restart. So many women started coming to me with their testimonies. Like, sis, oh my God, I went through this too. Oh my God, I love how you shared how we got through this. So one thing led to another. This is what made me go ahead and launch my consulting business. Because I was like, wait a minute, I love you sisters, and I am so glad you're coming to me for help and advice, but hold on now. Sis, I got milk, you know what I'm saying? A little reciprocity, all right? I'm going to help you, help me, okay? Growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, we are taught that money, materialism is evil. Like Jehovah's Witnesses do not pass around a collection plate. You know how in the church, the pastor pulls up with a Porsche? And not in Jehovah's Witness religion. If you are a Jehovah's Witness and you show up in a luxury car, everyone's in a congregation like, materialistic, worldly possessions. So it's so interesting how when you are simply just not raised to value something, it literally has no meaning to you. So for me, I was never a money hungry person. It was never like, pay me, pay me, pay. It was never that. It was like, I need a few dollars to pay my bills, but it was never that serious. So I had to kind of break out of that and start to be okay with getting paid for my gifts, getting paid to help people. If I'm helping you, help me back, So that is another thing you ladies need to learn is charge your worth. You are not obligated to do anything for anyone for free. I learned at a young age how cold this world was. Ain't nobody going to help you. So I had to develop the mindset that, okay, I am going to charge my worth. Started the consulting business. Fast forward to today, I now have over 500 women, going on 600 women in my arsenal of mentees and women that I have helped one-on-one coach to embrace their femininity, to overcome, escape domestic violence situations, navigate through motherhood. We have way more single mothers than we do married women. That's the reality of where we are now. We have to make do with what we have. I have helped so many women navigate marriages, divorces, motherhood, because there is so many things that I have experience in, okay? Launched my consulting business. Then I began to get on YouTube. Then people was like, get on YouTube. You need to get on YouTube, all right? All right? You don't have a face for radio and books. Like, we want to see you. Like, let the girls see you, So I'm like, okay, get on YouTube. I just start doing videos like in my car. I tried doing some like in my bedroom. Like I remember just, really trying to figure it out. I'm still trying to figure it out. But I remember in the beginning, I was so lost. I did not even understand what the hell I was doing. And so I just started making videos, kind of just talking off the dome on things I just naturally kind of felt passionate about. And then, YouTube started doing well. That became really fun for me. Then things in my relationship started to get rocky, and I decided to call off my wedding and call off my engagement. When this happened, I knew my brand was going to take a hit. I knew that. I knew that people were going to turn their nose up to it. I knew it was going to look like a failure. And I did feel like I had let so many people down, because I know a lot of people had looked at us as like, Black love goals, relationship goals. So I felt like I had not only let myself down, but also let my girls down. But I knew that the bigger lesson was going to be true to yourself. Don't do things for other people or for a facade. Be true to what you're feeling and what you're going through at that time. So despite the counsel of people being like, okay, you're going to take a hit, I decided to go through with it. It was rough navigating that, people coming to me. Sometimes people still come to me like, what happened to your wedding? What happened with this? My next lesson in this video, y'all, you have to do what is best. Do not let other people make decisions that you have to live with. Sometimes things can play out and work out on their own, and that's okay. But y'all, do not ever live your life where you are letting other people dictate your decisions when they are not the ones that have to live with those choices. Does that make sense? Okay. So that was very difficult to overcome, but it was so necessary. Sometimes you have to let go of things to move forward and have better things, kind of come into your life. All right. So now I stayed the course. I remember having to literally like block out certain words on my social media, because people were like, oh my God, where is, and so, when the breakup happened, he went on a whole like smear campaign of me, and it was super weird and it was very hurtful. And I was like, what is going on? But I had learned about myself, there's nothing I can't bounce back from. And what kept my brand okay was that I was just very real and very transparent about it. Sometimes that's all people want. Like, we all going through things. We all make mistakes. We all have things not work out. It's a matter of people knew that I was not, giving up. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't trying to make things seem the way they were. It was honest. It was pure. It was transparent. And at the end of the day, that's what people respected. And so my girls stuck by me and they were like, we want you to be happy. We want what's best for you. So it was like, I felt in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, this has just been failure after failure in my life. But in the minds of my people, like my true tribe, they're like, no, this is just your journey and we rocking with you and we get it and we understand it. We appreciate your honesty. So I kept going. I'm still going. I realized the whole time what I knew already, but I think I just needed the confirmation to it, was my life work. What makes me happy, my life goal is to help women be better. Period. This is when in my life when I feel the happiest and most fulfilled. I realized my goal is not to capitalize on making money off of people by telling them what they want to hear. I realized my life work is going to be hard, but I am dedicated to it. So now where I am is in a place of fulfillment, knowing that I have my girls that I help, even guys that I help, even men come to me for, advice for stuff with their women and their situations or for them. I think for a lot of brothers, just having a Black female voice they know they can speak to and not be judged for their thoughts or how they feel, and have someone who truly does not resent them. Black men literally will come to me to have a Black woman to express themselves to and get a Black woman perspective from, because they just want someone who does not low-key hate them and carry resentment for them. Okay. Me and my father were able to reconcile our relationship. We are now the best of friends. He is now the best grandfather to my son. Like, I be so happy that my son has like the best like starter kit, typical state-of-the-art grandfather. Nothing is ever too late. If you have a strange relationship with your parents, it's never too late to rebuild it. If you are a month away from your wedding but it's not giving what it's supposed to give, it's never too late to step back. Okay. If you fail in business after business, it is never too late to pivot, make the change, and do what you know will fulfill you and fulfill your pockets, be able to support your lifestyle, support your children. It does not matter. You have children. You got to understand the circumstance you had your children and learn from it, do better. For example, me, yes, I had a child young, but I had to learn, okay, I'm not going to have any more. All right. I know I need to sit back, chill. Bringing a child into the world is nothing to play around with, so it's not about what you do. It's about learning from it. You guys see, it's about learning from your mistakes, learning from your trials. You got to understand your ancestors. We are our ancestors. Who I am today is someone who already existed. You have to understand what the concept of God is. God is your breath in and out. It's the blood flowing through your body. When you respect the fact that God is a force and not an individual that grants favor to some and hell to others, you begin to understand and appreciate the responsibility that you have for yourself. When you learn that no one is coming to save you, that you are in fact someone who already existed coming back, and that if you do not learn the lessons and fulfill your purpose that the Most High intends for you to fulfill, this is how generational cycles of dysfunction happen. Okay. Where I am today, I know for a fact when I go, this is our last run. Okay. This is our last run. We learned here. Okay. I'm not going to have to keep coming back and learn these lessons over and over again. That fulfills me. Helping women fulfills me. Ladies, things do not always have to look perfect. Sometimes it will take a lot of failures for you to learn. Say, okay, I learned. Sometimes you might learn what you don't want. Sometimes you might learn what you do want. But all of these things are part of your journey, ladies. Do not give up. It is never too late. It's not too late until you're dead. As long as there is breath in your body, ladies, there is always a chance. I'm very happy with where I am today. I'm very happy again with just being able to help other women. Okay. If you see this video and you feel inspired, I will put my contact information here for you guys. I create a safe space for women like myself who, again, it's not perfect. So how do I navigate even when it's not perfect? Okay. This is how I became today to be a teacher, a very non-conventional teacher. I am not for everybody. I fully understand that. I know a lot of people cannot handle my style, my word choices, but my job is not for you to be able to stomach me or for me to be for everybody. My job here is to give the information, show you, yeah, it's cold. No one owes you coddling. Some people think in our femininity, that means the world owes you to be coddled. Absolutely not. Your femininity means even more so that you got to suck it up, woman up, and do what you got to do, So I know at the end of the day, my people will appreciate me more for that than kind of lulling them to sleep and not giving them the information they really need and being more concerned about feelings than us getting better and doing better. So, I want to just open up to you guys. You guys know a little bit about who I am, about what I have, going on. I really appreciate you guys watching the video. If you want to stay in touch with me, again, my information will be in the description box. Shout out again to our sponsor, Alpha Juice Company. I really appreciate you guys so much. Please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you all on the next one.